Just a few weeks ago, lawmakers plunged the nation into a standstill, leaving us with the government shut down. Earlier today, I spoke with Tennessee Congressman Steve Cohen. He's a Democrat, and I asked what this deal tells us about the future of relations on Capitol Hill.
I think the budget will pass. I think there's sufficient votes in both caucuses because people are tired of dysfunctional government. The public is. The constituents have been telling us they want us to work together. They want the government to function. This has got, it's exactly a middle ground on the dollar amount between the Democrats and Republicans. It's got something the Democrats like, something the Republicans like, something we don't like. That's kind of generally the way good legislation comes about in compromise. Nobody ever gets everything they want. So I think it's a good step for relations in the future. I think that the Republicans learned that they suffered politically from the shutdown. That was something the American people did not favor, and they know that it was the Republican House caucus that was responsible for it. And I kind of think Speaker Boehner's starting to assert himself some. He did yesterday in talking towards the opposition from the knee-jerk conservative crowd that, as he said, were against it before they ever read it, which is interesting because, you know, you read the health care bill.
But I have to make that point, too. For your party, you've been under a lot of pressure over Obamacare and how the rollout happened. Was there also sort of a recognition that, hey, we've got to do something that pushes the people to trust us a little bit more, too, after all this? We've got to give here, too?
Well, I think what we saw is that the American people do want to have both sides work together. If we failed to come with numbers and the Republicans had some, we'd look at fault. But the fact is this was good for us in terms of it cut into the sequester, which is really an anti-government, anti-middle class, anti-human being, I think, proposal. It allowed for much more spending in non-defense discretionary domestic spending, so it'll help the National Institute of Health, which I think ought to be our number one concern of all concerns that we have on Congress. Defense, education, jobs, number one should be the National Institute of Health.
Is coming to this deal an indication of a real watershed moment for both of the parties, that you all have gotten the lesson down now, you've learned, people will not tolerate this? Is it a real watershed? Is it really going to change? Can you go back to being bodies that work together on both sides of the aisle?
I hope so, and I think so, but I really do think, and I hate to be sounded like I'm partisan. The problem has been the Republicans, and I think that you've seen a lot of people like Norm Ornstein, who's considered a very independent commentator and knowledgeable person about Congress, who said it's not a bi-party thing, it's the Republicans. And it's been the two parties of the Republican Party, the traditional mainstream Republicans, the Chuck Percy's and the Nelson Rockefellers and the Bob Michaels, the Everett Dirksons, and the new Republicans who are the Tea Party, who in my mind are a continuation of people that were Democrats and Republicans, the George Wallaces and the Lester Maddox and the General Walkers from the 60s in Dallas and the John Birchers.
But it doesn't sound like you think it's over.
Well, I think John Boehner might make it over. I think John Boehner realizes that for the good of the National Republican Party, the hope that they might have in 2014, the hope they may have in 2016, they need to get beyond this. And so it may be over, but I think it's in the hands of the Republicans. The Democrats have always been willing to reach across. Just about every major bill that's passed in this Congress has been with more Democratic votes than Republican votes. Whether it was bills for women, whether it was bills to make the government work, it's been Democratic votes that made it happen. And John Boehner's brought bills, and Nancy Pelosi's delivered the votes.
All right. Well, we will see where you go.
Nice to be with you. You're welcome.